Well guys, we may have just shot ourselves in the foot again on this project. If I chuck this up in my drill and just spin it really fast, the centrifugal force will bring it out. Well guys, we got a major setback here. Alright guys, we went to the local junkyard and we picked up these PTO cars. Look how nice they are. You can hardly tell that they've been used on the inside. They're pretty rusty on the outside, but they did actually come off of another Allison. Only vehicle in the yard that I could find that actually had these. I'm under there peeling them off and like, this transmission looks familiar. Sure enough, it was a Allison 1000. We got the PTO covers. I also got bolts for the side that was missing those. Absolutely ridiculous side note, my junkyard now charges a $2 admission fee. What do they think this is? The fair? They didn't even have funnel cakes. So we're gonna get these cleaned up on the inside here and get those bolted up with the new gaskets. I think while it's bolted to the truck, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the plug, drain the fluid out of it, and pull the cooler lines off for now. Maybe we'll pull the pan off of it, I don't know, because I would like to pull the pan off of it. So yeah, let's get to work. Pan is off. I don't see anything crazy in here. The fluid definitely wasn't nice and cherry red like the 3060 when we drained that, but it doesn't smell burnt. There's definitely a little bit of goop down here in the bottom of the pan, but I don't know, for a transmission with 145,000 miles on it, it might be normal. I mean, the magnet's just got like really fine goop on it. So that's what's in the bottom of the pan. Just fine grit here and there, but I don't see any like big chunks or pieces of gears or anything crazy. So I guess we'll just clean it out. I'm gonna order a new internal filter and gasket, but for now we'll probably just throw this back on with a couple of bolts until I order it. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I need to start ordering stuff if I'm gonna work on this. Guys, we got a major setback here. Let me know when you see it. So this spinny thing is supposed to engage that spinny thing and make it spin. So when we were going with the 3060, we swapped out the SA3 to an SA2 bell housing, which is slightly bigger to accommodate the 3060, which is a huge transmission. The mounts were different, so we had to rebuild the mounts, and then we decided not to go with the 3060. Luckily, they make adapter rings to go from a 2 to a 3, which is what we got. We did get the adapter ring, but it pushes the starter out just slightly. And so now it's not going to grab onto the ring on the flywheel. I don't think it's a huge deal. I just got to figure out what part I need. There's probably a different flywheel that I need to get that has a bigger ring gear on it. The only other option would be to switch back over to the SA3 bell housing, which would work, but we wouldn't have to remake this portion of the mount. We just have to remake these here, but you know, no one likes doing work a third time, so we're gonna try to avoid that. I'm gonna do some research, see if I can find something about that. All right, so I have a theory with this flywheel of how we can fix this issue, because ours is too small. It just needs to be like a little bit bigger. It's only about a ½ inch. These engines are only rated for 2,640 RPMs, so I'm thinking if I chuck this up in my drill and just spin it really fast, the centrifugal force will bring it out. And we'll just keep checking it until we got the right diameter, and then we'll just slap it back in. I think that'll work just fine. I am, of course, kidding. We're just going to use this flywheel instead. So this is the same but different. It's a little bit bigger. After we figured out that that was the wrong flywheel, did some poking around to try to find the right part number, and we found it. 150 bucks on the old eBay machine. We're ready to go. Genuine cat. We're gonna go ahead and get this bolted up, get everything torqued down, so that'll be ready to go. So then when we go to put the transmission on, everything's already there. Oh, tell you what, it was a very suspenseful couple of minutes for me. So we got the new flywheel in, and the starter still wouldn't mesh. So apparently there's a difference between the starters between the 3 and 2. Who knew? But luckily the starter that we got that came on the Louisville was also a 10 tooth, and it seems to mesh pretty decent. The only thing I don't like is that the starter off the Louisville is a direct drive. The other one is a gear reduction starter, and the gear reduction starter is like half the weight of this one. But at least we have a starter, so. Oh, whoa, sparks. Alrighty, so we finally got some parts in for the Allison 2000. It's always real nice when a box shows up in the mail and it's so destroyed that the post office had to tape it back together. You know, that's always cool. We got our new internal filter, which doesn't look too destroyed. We have our input seal, new drain plug because that old one was pretty destroyed. And then the drain gasket, which I've already kind of straightened it out. It was pretty mangled when it came out of the box, but it should do the trick. So we're gonna set about putting in this filter and the new pan gasket, get the pan back bolted on, new drain plug into it, and then we'll see about the input seal. I think there's a bushing behind it. I didn't get the bushing because I didn't get the bushing, but I got the seal, so let's get to it. At this point, I think it's high enough, but I've never had a garage this big, so I'm just curious to see how high it'll go. Wow, that's all the way up. That's tall. It's not even in frame anymore. Alright guys, so the good folks over at Super Clean, they came across our channel, and for some odd reason they thought that their product was something that we could really benefit from. Not sure why.
It was like the coolest oil fall I've ever seen.
So they sent us over a little care package of different degreasers and cleaners, and it came just in time because we're cleaning off this transmission, which is pretty oily and greasy. And so yeah, we'll put the stuff to the test. I've never used Super Clean. Typically I just use oven cleaner, and this seems a little bit better. Up here at the new house we're on a well, so I'll be a little more aware of what I'm putting back into the ground, and this stuff here is biodegradable. It's got biodegradable detergents in it, so that makes me feel a little bit better about degreasing a transmission in my front yard. This is their new Easy Spray aerosol can. Read cautions on back panel. Oh, that's a lot of words. Brakes, grills, and engines. Oh, look at that. Wow, look at that, man. Foaming is really nice. It helps get into all the crevices. I bet it's really good for those ratchet straps too. So we're gonna let that bake on 350 for a couple minutes here, and we'll come back and see how it looks. Stay. Good news is the strap didn't break. A little, a little slippy slip. Oh, I see what happened. Strap did not slip. It's these ratchet straps I didn't have set up right. So there it is, all cleaned up. That super clean did a heck of a job. I think it did better than that oven cleaner. It's probably about how it rolled off the factory at Allison. But anyways, transmission's clean. We're gonna get it inside now, and I think I'm going to take the torque converter out, set it right on the bell housing upright like we did the 3060. I think I'm gonna put it on one of my tables though. That way I don't have to bend over. And we'll hit it with the wire wheel, take off some of this corrosion and oxidation that's on it, get it nice and clean, prime it, paint it. So we got the transmission about as clean as we could get it with the wire wheel. Transmissions are kind of difficult because there's so many little crevices and places you can't get to. But we're gonna take it back outside, hook up the pressure washer again, blast it off real quick just to make sure we got everything, as much of the dirt and grime as we can off of it. We'll dry it off and then we'll throw some primer on it. We're also gonna hit the drive shaft. Transmission is all clean, prepped. We're ready to start laying down some primer. Let's get after it. Transmission's all primed up and dry, so we are going to cover some stuff up in the background here so we don't get overspray on it. And we're going to be doing the two-part paint again. Gloss black. I really like the way it turned out on the frame. I think it's a good choice to use on this transmission, so we're going to start spraying. Well guys, we may have just shot ourselves in the foot again on this project, which I know you guys have been telling me I shouldn't be wearing my Crocs in the shop anyways. So, as you guys just saw, we got the input seal changed out on the transmission. It's painted, it's been drying for like a week now, and the paint finally feels hard enough to slap this bad boy in. I thought I did a better job of painting it, but I guess I didn't shoot up a whole lot. It looks good from a distance. That's all we really care about. So as you just saw, we got the torque converter put into the transmission. We're getting ready to put it in, and I nearly made a pretty big mistake. Weller Truck has a pretty good video talking about it. There's a pretty big issue with these when it comes to putting the torque converters in. If you don't get the pump gear lined up, which I guess can be a little difficult, the torque converter doesn't seat all the way in there. You can still bolt the transmission up. The torque converter sticks out a little further, and you'll just end up using the bolts to pull everything together. You'll start the vehicle up, it'll run fine, and then that gear will drop into place, and it puts a shock load on that pump gear, which is hardened, and it explodes. Luckily, I saw their video on this, so I was able to catch it beforehand. But if you remember a couple videos back, we did a fit up, bolted everything together real quick just to see how it was looking, and everything looked fine, but the torque converter was sticking out quite a bit further than it should. In their video, they go into detail on how to measure and what the measurements should be. So I'm really hoping that like things still bolt together properly, but there's something telling me that we're gonna need some sort of different spacer or something. I hope not. I hope it just bolts together. But just as I suspected, that torque converter in all the way. Kind of hard for you guys to tell what's going on here. That back there, that's the torque converter, and this is the flex plate that it's supposed to bolt to. So we have about 1.1/16 inches between there. I believe we need to get a new spacer. There is one, you can see that little shiny thing there. That's the spacer between the flywheel and the flex plate. So I believe we need to get new bolts, a new spacer. It's 1 inch bigger, and that'll put that flex plate right up against the torque converter. So we need to figure out what we need to make that and that work. But it does look good. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. I did a lot of research this week trying to figure out what I need to make this all work. I sent out a lot of emails to different companies, including Caterpillar, Weller Truck, and Weller Truck actually came through. They sent me a blueprint from Allison and with all the part numbers in order to make a SA3 Allison transmission up to an SA2 Caterpillar. The adapter ring that we got came off of an international. Cat makes their own SAE 2 to 3 adapter. What does SAE stand for again? Basically, the Caterpillar one is only 3/8 of an inch thick, whereas the international one is 1 inch thick. So essentially, we would have a really hard time finding the right parts to make this work. So our option would be to swap out to the Caterpillar adapter ring and then get the Caterpillar hub, which would make everything bolt up. The adapter ring is about $500, and you can find used hubs for like 40 bucks on eBay. So that's fairly expensive, more than I want to spend on making this work the way it is. Another option would be to take that hub out of there. I keep on saying hub, I don't know if you guys are following me. So this is, it's like a spacer basically. This goes between the flywheel and the flex plate. And so I could take this off of there, the one that's in there now, take it to a machine shop. So your torque converter, actually the center of the torque converter goes into the middle of this and keeps it centered. But I could take this off, take it to a machine shop, and have them make me one that's 1 inch thicker, and that would make it work too. But I'm just not sure that that's the route I really want to go, but it is an option. I've never really had any machine work done, so I don't know what something like that would cost. I'm just not sure that's the right way to go. Right now, honestly, I'm thinking that the cheapest and best option for us is going to be to swap back to the SAE3 bell housing. Another thing with swapping back to the SAE3 bell housing is that'll move the transmission 1 inch further forward. and that'll help with the angle of the drive line. It'll bring the front yoke forward, so we kind of, right now they're like this, and then we'll be like this. So an inch isn't much, but sometimes it's enough. Alrighty, well, I guess that's it for this video. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up. If you really like what we're doing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hope all your projects at home are going well, better than mine. We'll catch you in the next one.